My name is George Anderson. I'm the leader of the Anderson clan. My wife passed away when our daughter, Natalie, was still very young. Since then, I've raised her on my own, never remarrying. Now, my daughter is getting married, but I've deliberately kept the fact that I'm the head of the Anderson clan from her fiancé's family. I figured it might be fine if the groom's side was higher in status, but if the bride's side was, it might make him feel uncomfortable as a son-in-law. And so, the wedding day has arrived. Natalie, you look beautiful. You've grown up so well. I'm sure your mother is smiling down on you from the other side. For many years, it was just the two of us, but now that chapter ends today. There were times when she had a fever, got injured, and of course, the teenage years were a challenge. But looking back now, those are all fond memories. Thank you, Dad. Even after I'm married, I'll always be your daughter. She's grown into such a kind young woman, but it wasn't solely my effort. Many of my men helped fill in the gaps where I fell short. I'm sorry for making you carry the burden of being the daughter of a mob. It's nothing like that. I love you, Dad, even as a mob. Besides, I ended up choosing someone from the mob world too. She's right. If possible, I would have preferred her to marry someone from a normal life, but the man Natalie chose is the son of the leader of the Johnson clan. Naturally, her fiancé, Samuel, is also a mob. Since I'm in this life myself, I couldn't exactly oppose it, so I accepted their marriage. Dad, the reception is about to start. Oh, right. I'll head to the venue now. Okay, thank you, Dad. With those words, Natalie waved to me with a small gesture. Our little girl has grown up so much. I always thought she'd be my little one, but somewhere along the way, she became an adult. It's strange, I should feel happy, but I can't help feeling a little lonely. Hannah. I wish you were here to celebrate with me. Hannah was my late wife. Last night, I spoke to her at the altar, but no matter how much I spoke, I knew she wouldn't answer. I had to endure the solitude on my own. When I entered the reception hall, the staff guided me to my seat among the family members. However, when I saw the name tag on the seat, even I hesitated to sit. The name tag read, Thug Dad. What is this? I could understand father or parent. Even just my name would have been fine. But Thug Dad? What could that possibly mean? I scanned the room and noticed the leader of the Johnson clan looking at me. Not only that, but he was smirking as he watched me. What is going on? It seemed he hadn't realized I was the head of the Anderson clan. He didn't even bother to bow or come greet me. Well, I suppose I don't look the part today. But this name tag, this is going too far. Before I could even consider sitting down, the lights dimmed and music began to play. Then came the announcement, the bride and groom are entering. I had no choice but to sit in silence. Maybe I should just remove this tag. No, doing that would only give the Johnson leader more reason to mock me. Besides, if I get angry over something like this, Natalie will be the one who suffers. I stayed quiet and simply watched my daughter's entrance. As the bride and groom took their seats at the head table and the reception was about to begin, the Johnson leader stood and raised his voice. This is a celebration for mob only. He looked at me and laughed. So, this was planned all along. I didn't need to think too hard to understand what he meant. The words on my name tag were a message, you're not a real mob. In other words, a declaration that I should leave. But even then, I stayed silent. This was my daughter's wedding. Leaving was not an option. Hey! Natalie's dad. This is a mob-only wedding. We don't need a thug like you here, so get out. I glanced at Natalie. She looked confused, clearly unaware of what was happening. This was all orchestrated by the Johnson clan, and she had no part in it. What's this about calling him a thug? What does this mean? You'll see soon enough. Why are you still sitting there? Your daughter just married into the Johnson family. We don't need a thug like you as an in-law. Get out already. When I didn't move, the Johnson leader stormed over to my seat. Hey, didn't you hear me? Yes, your son is marrying my daughter, but skipping today's ceremony is not an option for me. You've got some nerve, talking back to me. I already know you're just a low-level thug. The Johnson clan doesn't need relatives like you. Is that so? My apologies. But I'm not leaving. You think that's wise? This is the Johnson clan, the real deal. And your daughter is marrying into our family. If you don't listen to us now, your daughter's life will be nothing but hardship. Samuel. What's going on here? Stop your father. It's fine. Your father is nothing but a thug, a disgrace to the Johnson clan. Forget about him. What are you talking about? He's my father. He raised me single-handedly and is the most important person in my life. How dare you tell me to forget him? You have me and my parents now. That's all you need. Just listen to us from now on. You promised to treat my father with respect. And you actually believe that? I'd respect a proper mob, sure. But there's no respect for a thug. Natalie tried to get her fiancé, Samuel, to intervene, but he refused to listen. No matter what was said, I kept my eyes closed and remained silent. If I spoke even a single word, the ceremony would fall into chaos. And if that happened, Natalie would be the one who suffered. Why are you being so cruel? Please stop. He's my father, and he's important to me. Natalie, you're a Johnson now. Just listen to me. My father wants a mob-only celebration, and that's how it's going to be. I can't just accept that. If I'd known this was going to happen, I wouldn't have agreed to this wedding. What are you saying? You love me, don't you? If you do, you should listen to your husband. I may have agreed to this ceremony, but we haven't filed the marriage papers yet. So we're not officially married. A ceremony makes us a married couple. We just swore to live as husband and wife moments ago. If you're serious about being my husband, then stop your father's outrageous behavior. Why are you letting him insult my dad? I can't accept someone as my husband who can't stand up to his own parents. What the hell? This was decided from the start. From the start? What do you mean? I mean, I never planned to have someone as lowly as your father involved in our celebration. Just having him at this reception is unacceptable to me. And going forward, I'll never recognize your father as part of my family. My parents are the only family we'll ever need. How can you say something like that? Just as I noticed a change in Natalie's expression, she stood up from her seat and stepped down from the head table. Natalie, what's wrong? Dad, let's go home. Go home? But the reception is still happening. It's fine. I had no idea these people were like this. There's no way I can stay with people who act like this and think it's okay. If they can't respect my father, there's no way I could ever respect theirs. I'm sorry. Don't apologize, Dad. You've done nothing wrong. Samuel is the one at fault here. Natalie. Get back here. The reception isn't over. I'm not going back. This marriage is over. We already had the wedding ceremony. That's all we've done, and now I know what kind of person you are. If we'd already registered the marriage, getting out of it would have been a nightmare. Thanks for showing your true colors at the reception. With that, Natalie grabbed my name tag, slammed it onto the floor, and stomped on it. Let's go, Dad. Despite having dreamed of this day, my daughter's decisiveness was impressive. I stood up and began walking with her toward the exit. A murmur spread through the guests. It wasn't a reaction to an unexpected turn of events, but rather the murmurs from the gangsters who saw my face. Moreover, all the attendees turned pale, whispering that something serious had happened. Yet, neither Samuel nor his father, the Johnson leader, seemed to notice. The Johnson leader shouted, "What an outrageous woman! Good riddance to her!" But Samuel descended from the head table and ran after Natalie. "Natalie, you're joking, right? We said we'd get married. That's why we had the ceremony. Why would you choose some thug dad over my father, who's so much more respectable? All you have to do is see my dad as your own. What are you saying? Who are you calling a thug? Don't mess with me. The Johnson clan isn't even that big, yet you act so high and mighty." I kept quiet because I thought I loved you, but in the end, you're just part of the Anderson clan's umbrella. Even if we are a branch now, we're going to grow bigger. Once I'm the leader, you'll be the wife of a boss. So what? I don't care about that at all. Then, Isaac, one of the executives standing at the entrance of the venue, approached us. Isaac is my close aide, a man who is always by my side no matter the circumstances. "Boss, are you leaving?" I nodded silently, and Isaac bowed deeply before glaring at Samuel. Seeing this, the Johnson leader's mouth fell open in shock. Until now, he had thought I was just a low-level thug. Seeing my lieutenant bow to me caught him completely off guard. But even so, the Johnson leader tried to save face. "So what if you've got a lieutenant? It's probably a tiny group anyway. Small fry always try to show off at events like this." Hearing this, Isaac's expression darkened, and he moved as if to confront the Johnson leader. However, it was clear that allowing it would cause Isaac's anger to explode. I tried to stop Isaac and leave the venue. But at that moment, Samuel shouted, "If you walk out now, it's over. Everyone will laugh at Natalie. She'll never get married again. You're already 28 if I don't marry you. No one else will." His words ignited my anger. I almost turned to glare at him, but before I could react, Natalie shouted back, "Marry someone who disrespects my dad? Don't be ridiculous. If I married you, I'd be the one laughed at. And for your information, I can get married if I want to. You, on the other hand, will probably never find anyone else. You poor thing. With your attitude about only respecting your own parents, no one will ever want to be with you. You'll be single for life, congratulations." With that, Natalie strode forward, ignoring Samuel's desperate attempts to call her back. Natalie had chosen to walk away from her wedding, even discarding her wedding dress, all for my sake. This made me wonder how she must be feeling inside. She must be devastated, I thought, but after some time staring out the window, Natalie suddenly shouted, "I mean, seriously, this is so frustrating." Then she turned to Isaac. "Hey, Isaac, what do you think? Can you believe I actually picked someone that rude? I'm so mad at myself." Can you believe it, Dad? They insulted you. They mocked the Anderson clan, acting high and mighty while being just a subordinate branch. There isn't a leader in this world as remarkable as you. And then, to top it off, they tell me to forget my father and revere that old Johnson as my parent? That's disgusting. The very thought of it makes my skin crawl. Isn't that right, Isaac? Absolutely, Natalie. You're spot on. If you had gone through with that marriage, even I would have been deeply disheartened. Exactly. It's absolutely outrageous. Mocking my father is unforgivable. Honestly, I wish I could have grabbed Samuel by the collar right there and stomped on him. And do you know what they wrote on your name tag, Dad? Thug Dad. Thug. As if that low-level mob, who can't even stand up to his own father, has any room to talk. And then he had the nerve to say I'd never find anyone else if I broke it off. Unbelievable. Isaac continued to nod and echo her words. Indeed, Natalie, you're absolutely right. Meanwhile, back at the reception hall, chaos had erupted. The attendees, having realized that I was the head of the Anderson clan, urged the Johnson leader to ensure the marriage wasn't called off for the sake of their organization's reputation. Although he found it hard to believe at first, he realized it would be a serious matter if true, and instructed Samuel to mend his relationship with Natalie. Receiving the instruction, Samuel thought that if that were the case, he would have to apologize and reconcile, even if it meant bowing his head. That night, Samuel decided to call Natalie in an attempt to patch things up. Natalie, you must be exhausted from today. Exhausted? Seriously? Why are you calling me? We're done, remember? Don't be like that. I was just nervous, that's all. Nervous? That's no excuse for saying you'd abandon my father. You don't have a shred of decency. I'm really sorry. I mean it. Even my dad regrets saying what he did. Please, let's make up. I want to marry you. Well, I don't want to marry you. You're joking, right? Not even close. By the way, is it true? Is your dad really the head of the Anderson clan? That's right. Why didn't you tell me? If I'd known, none of this would have happened. Because my father didn't want to hurt your pride. He thought you wouldn't want to marry someone from a more prominent family. Oh, that's what it was. If you think it's so intimidating, maybe you shouldn't have wanted to marry me in the first place. No, that's not it. I don't care if your family's more prestigious. So, you'd prefer it to be above yours? Well, yeah, I guess. But if you'd just told me. There was nothing to tell. Come on, Natalie. Let's not end things like this. You're already 28. If we break up now, you'll have a hard time finding someone else. Let's just sign the marriage papers and move on. Excuse me? You're worried about me being single? Well, don't be. I wouldn't marry you if you were the last man on earth. That's incredibly rude. Why are you mad? I'm offering to marry you. Oh, now that you know I'm from the main family, you're saying you'll marry me for the Johnson clan's benefit? And then you say you're offering to marry me? Maybe learn how to talk to people first. Not that it matters, I'd never marry you. Ever. With that, Natalie hung up the phone. The next day, the Johnson leader and Samuel showed up at the Anderson clan's office. Well, yesterday got a bit out of hand, didn't it? What brings you here? Let's not be so formal. The Johnson clan and the Anderson clan have a unique relationship, don't we? And what exactly do you mean by that? I'm talking about your daughter's marriage to my son. Natalie's already said she doesn't want to marry him. Well, sure, but she was still talking to Samuel last night. That means they can't completely let go of each other, right? Why don't we, as adults, support these two young people? I heard Samuel said something inappropriate again last night. I'm simply respecting Natalie's wishes. Respecting her wishes is important, but let's not forget that young people can be rash. Samuel is destined to lead the Johnson clan. Wouldn't it be better for Natalie to marry someone with such a promising future? She doesn't need to marry into your family. Come now, let's put the past behind us. If we forget everything and let them move forward as a couple, I'm sure things will work out just fine. Forget everything? That's right. We're the in-laws here, after all. Since she's marrying into our family, it's only natural for her to follow what we say. However, it seems she doesn't quite understand that. Perhaps it's because she's the daughter of the head of the main family. But I'm a broad-minded man. I've decided to completely forget about what happened and welcome Natalie into our family. I see, welcome her, huh? That's quite the generous offer, but I refuse. Why not? we're offering to take her as a bride. Let's not forget Natalie isn't getting any younger. At 28, she doesn't have much time to start a family. I'm saying this for her sake. She doesn't need your concern. I'll find someone better suited for her. It's always better for two people who are in love to be together, don't you think? That way, the relationship between the Anderson clan and the Johnson clan will remain stable, the Johnson leader argued. Johnson, are you misunderstanding something? Even if my daughter marries your son, the Anderson clan isn't selling out to the Johnson clan. I retorted sharply. Yes, of course. I didn't mean it like that. I just want the young couple to be happy. Johnson, take a good look around. Do you see the faces of my lieutenants? If you keep pushing your luck, you won't be leaving this office in one piece. The Johnson leader hesitated, glancing around to see my men glaring at him, their eyes full of barely restrained fury, as if ready to pounce at any moment. Oh, no need for hostility here. I'll be taking my leave now. But you know where to find me if you change your mind. We're always ready to welcome Natalie into our family. With those parting words, he quickly left. The door hadn't even closed before I barked, "Throw some salt at the door." After failing to bring down the daughter and unable to sway the father, Johnson decided to take a different approach. To that end, he gave some advice to his son, Samuel. Unaware of this scheme, Natalie, believing it to be an important discussion, went to the cafe where they had met many times for their dates. "What's this important thing you wanted to talk about?" Natalie asked coldly. "Don't be so harsh. We're engaged, aren't we? Talking like this will just ruin our relationship." "Oh, please. Your father barged into my dad's office yesterday, saying he'd take me as my son's bride. Who would be happy about that? I'm sure my dad just really likes you. That's why he's so insistent that we get married. Let's make up, Natalie, for his sake. Think of it as being a good daughter-in-law." Good daughter-in-law? That's for your parents' sake, not mine. My father doesn't want any of this. Of course he does. Your dad must want us to marry. After all, you're almost past the age for marriage. 28 isn't old, and I'd rather take my time and avoid regret than rush into a mistake. Sure, but we've been in love for so long. We've shared so much, haven't we? It's disgusting to think about now. Honestly, it was all a mistake. You're saying being with me was a mistake? That's exactly what I'm saying. The wedding reception made that clear. So, is that your important talk? If so, we're done here. No, it's not just that. I brought this. Samuel pulled out a marriage registration form. Sign it. What? Why would I do that? Look, if you won't agree willingly, I'll have to force you. I can't let you back out of this marriage. Why are you so obsessed with this? I've already told you I'm not marrying you. Do you know how much we spent on the wedding reception? You're wasting all that money. Then bill my father. He'll handle it however he sees fit. That's not the point. Marriage would solve everything. Breaking up solves everything, too. No marriage needed. Why are you being so stubborn? Isn't it obvious? You disrespected my father. You mocked him, writing Thug Dad on his name tag and telling me to call your inferior father mine. You told me to accept only the Johnson leader as my father. It's disgusting. That's why I'm saying no. So you really won't marry me? That's right. I won't. Then I've got no choice. I'll force you to sign. Forcing me? Yeah. My dad said to do whatever it takes. Once you sign, the marriage is legal. I won't do it. I wouldn't marry you even if you were the last man on earth. Shut up. Marriage means obeying your husband. And I'm offering to marry you, so just sign already. Samuel forcibly tried to make her hold a pen and sign. She tried to resist and stop him, but he was a man, and his strength was overwhelming. There was no way she could win. She let out a scream and desperately called for help. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Isaac appeared, punching Samuel hard and sending him sprawling. You bastard! What do you think you're doing to Natalie? Isaac, why are you here? Natalie asked, both shocked and relieved. I heard you were going out and had a bad feeling, so I followed you. I hope I didn't overstep. No, you saved me. Thank you. Get out of here. Isaac growled at Samuel, dragging him outside. What happens next? Well, in the world of the mob, you don't need much imagination to guess. Natalie, quick on her feet, immediately grabbed her phone and called both me and the Johnson leader, asking us to come as soon as possible. When she stepped outside, she found exactly what she expected. Isaac was beating Samuel to a pulp. Please, stop. There's no need to hit me so much. Samuel pleaded. Shut up. If you don't want to get hit, hit me back. Hit back? I can't. Samuel, overwhelmed with fear, had wet himself. His pants were soaked, a clear sign of his humiliation. Pathetic, Natalie muttered. You talk so big, but you're absolutely worthless. I'm so glad I didn't marry someone like you. Samuel, now sobbing, begged for mercy. Please, forgive me. I was just doing what my dad told me. If you keep this up, my face will be ruined. I don't care what happens to your face. Samuel was on his knees, crying and pleading desperately. At that moment, I arrived with Johnson. What the hell is going on here? This guy called me out and tried to force me to sign the marriage registration. Luckily, Isaac showed up and stopped him. I see. So, Johnson, care to explain what this is all about? Well, I have no idea. My son must have done this on his own. That's a lie. You told me to force her to sign. You idiot. Don't say unnecessary things. Enough of this. I'm not giving my daughter to the likes of you. The Johnson clan is finished. Wait, boss. Please, anything but that. You can't disband us. Oh? So you don't want to disband? Of course not. Then here's what you'll do. Pay compensation for what your son tried to do to my daughter. Compensation? All right, if money will settle this, how much do you want? $10 million. 10 million? That's outrageous. It's not outrageous at all. 1 or 2 million would be easy for the Johnson clan, but 10 million? That's a challenge. And that's why it's 10 million. That's impossible. We can't afford that. Then you'll disband. All right. Fine, we'll pay it somehow. Pay it now. That's impossible. Then borrow it. Isn't that what loan sharks are for? Fine. Samuel, this is your mess. You'll borrow the 10 million and repay it. That's ridiculous, Dad. I was just doing what you told me. Why do I have to pay for it? Because I'm the leader, and I can't leave the clan's business. Stop with the family bickering. Both of you are responsible for this mess. Split it, 5 million each. Borrow it and pay it back together. This is absurd. Johnson groaned. I've already called a loan shark to take you two to the survival game. Survival game? That's deadly. You tried to ruin my daughter's life. This is the least you deserve. Shortly after, the loan shark arrived and escorted them to their fate. Samuel, pathetic as ever, cried the entire way. Watching them leave, Natalie muttered, I'm so glad I didn't marry him. You're absolutely right, Natalie. But you really need to improve your taste in men, or this could happen again. True, but honestly, being 28 as a woman is stressful. If I wait too long, I'll risk a late pregnancy. I started feeling the pressure at 25. And now at 28, it's even worse. There's no need to rush. You're beautiful, kind, and thoughtful. The right person will come along. Wait. You think I'm beautiful? Of course. And kind? Absolutely. You're a wonderful person and the best daughter any father could ask for. I guarantee it. In that case, Isaac, why don't you marry me? Wait. Are you serious? Of course I am. What do you think, Dad? Love is the best foundation for a relationship, and yet Natalie had suddenly proposed such a bold idea. If it's Isaac, I have no complaints. Isaac initially looked troubled, but he didn't seem entirely displeased. After about a year of dating, they safely became a married couple and are now living with me. To top it off, we're expecting a grandchild next year, which is truly a blessing.